Hi, my name is Joseph, and today I want to talk about Destiny Season of the Deep. It's only been the first week, and by the time this video posts, week two would have barely gone live. And I personally have not yet have played week two. Currently, it has been out for about an hour, give or take. But since Destiny 2 has been having some issues on reset day, especially when the new season dropped last week, I made the choice to kind of wait a little bit just in case there's any issues again. So yeah, so far, even though it's been 1 week in, I do have to say I am very much invested and interested in the storyline so far. Officially, Bungie has come out to state that Season of the Deep will help the player base to more fully understand, well, I suppose the witness. I was going to say the goals of the witness, but I don't want to say things that I may not. I don't want to put words to Bungie's mouth because I don't have the specific quote that they stated. I just know that Bungie made it clear that Season of the Deep would make aspects about the witness, the darkness, and the traveler just a little bit more well, unveiled. No pun intended. Being it's a slight joke just because if one plays Destiny 2, then they know about the veil, right? But essentially, the Season of the Deep is going to help us to more completely understand why the witness is chasing the traveler. And so far, we don't really have much about that, but one does need to keep in mind that Destiny is a live service game, so this means that more than likely we'll be getting more information each week. And in fact, I'm not going to lie, I am excited to hop on for this week's seasonal story to see what else we're going to discover. With that being said, the activities for this season themselves, I have to say, I am enjoying them a little bit more compared to Season of Defiance. I think with Season of Defiance, the issue was just that I myself as a player was just a little bit burnt out. So I don't think it was the activity's fault. It was more the player's fault, so myself. But this time with Season of the Deep, I went into it having taken a small break from Destiny. When I say a small break, I don't mean that I wasn't playing at all. I mean that rather than playing every other day or daily, I was just playing maybe 2 to 3 times a week. So still active. I would just play when my friends were online. I'm not really solo. So I think that small little quote unquote break helped me with this new season. If I didn't do that small break and I kept playing, I mean, I still felt that small burnt out feeling. With that being said, though, that burnt out feeling still does exist a little bit. But once I'm actually playing the game and I'm utilizing my Guardian's abilities and running around and everything like that, that feeling does subside a little bit. So that's nice. I did play a little bit of the new dungeon, the Ghosts of the Deep dungeon. Right off the bat, I'm going to have to say that the lore is interesting to me. So despite not having finished it yet personally, I do know the Ghosts of the Deep's story. And so spoilers, everyone is unaware about it, but I think it's really cool how the Lucian Hive is back and how they're trying to resurrect Oryx through the ghosts. I've always been a big fan of Oryx and the fact that they're intertwining him still into the narrative. I'm happy to be seeing that. I'm happy to be seeing that. I personally don't think that Oryx will be coming back. At least not. Rather, let me rephrase that, because technically he's back in the story. I don't think he'll be coming back in a narrative role. And I think that's because at this point, we really do have our main villain, the Witness, and we do have Savathun and Xivo Arath, and they kind of have that relationship, or rather, they kind of have that connection to the Hive history and the Hive lore. I think bringing back Oryx would just kind of muddle the waters a little bit. And also, one does need to keep in mind that when it came to Oryx, he was a wholly devoted to the sword logic. And although he will come back with his memories gone, since the Lucent Hive, the Lucent Brood being the Lucent Brood, and especially when Savathun returns, and if you don't think she's returning, we being the player base, I think the evidence is there that she'll be coming back, besides for the fact that she's a light bearer, right? Her ghost, tomorrow's still out there. She more than likely, if she were to come back, will help Oryx in getting back his memories. And I'm not sure if he'll be happy knowing that he was defeated and brought back, resurrected, maybe not through necromancy. One with a matter perspective, who wants to consider what the ghosts do to be necromancy, but through a form of coming back to life that was not the sword logic, that was not the throne world. Right? Really quickly, the difference between the throne world and the ghosts do resurrection is that in the throne world, they're not wholly dead; their physical selves die, but their ethereal form, I suppose, not their spiritual form, but their ethereal form, the part that's connected to the more cosmic aspects of the Destiny universe, that part has not yet gone yet, or rather that part has not yet deceased hence why they're able to return. They being the Hive. So going back to the dungeon, I've only got up to the first boss encounter. I am planning on finishing the rest of the dungeon. I tried doing it with my buddy, just two-manning it, but unfortunately we were encountering some glitches at the start of the dungeon. The green path would appear, but the enemies wouldn't spawn in despite going to where the symbol was located at. So that was unfortunate. But I did try playing the dungeon again past since then, and we only got up to the first encounter. And after that, we needed to stop really quickly, unfortunately. I more than likely will be looking for a LFG or looking for group via the Destiny app. Really quickly, if anyone hears noise outside, that's because my neighbors are doing construction work. So if no one can hear it, then that's great. I'm just mentioning it in case it can be heard or picked up by the video. But yeah, and so far from what I've played of it, it's a lot of fun. I am enjoying it. The second activity seems a little bit, I could see how it would be more manageable. Or second activity, I'm sorry, the first boss encounter, I could see how it could be more manageable with a third fire team member. But we've done a couple other dungeons, just the two of us, so hopefully we could do this one too. And besides for that, I think that is everything I want to discuss about this season. I have read online that some members of the community are a little bit upset with how much of the story, or how much of the seasonal story, sorry, excuse me, that was a small hiccup. How much of the seasonal story is revealing about the main narrative, about the witness, the veil, and the traveler. But I would just say one needs to keep in mind that, again, it is a live service model. So this does mean, I believe that Bungie, when they said that things would become clarified, they did mean that. And we just have to be patient. I never kept track, but usually I have noticed that the cutscene for the season usually occurs around week 3 or week 4. So it wouldn't surprise me if the same pattern holds for Season of the Deep and we get a cutscene. Yeah, before I continue, the newly introduced characters, or rather one new introduced and one reintroduction. So let's go with the reintroduction. Sloane's character. So again, my wonky history with Destiny. I believe I am slightly aware who Sloane was when I was playing during the base campaign. I never got the DLC, but I do believe I heard her voice over the intercoms and everything like that. But I do believe I recall seeing her because I remember back then seeing her shoulder pad, and it has those, I don't know the specific term, but it looks like those medieval wax seals. I always found those a little bit weird, to be honest. But now that I'm more getting invested into the Warhammer universe and Warhammer lore, those little wax seals, whatever they may be called officially, it really reminds me of Space Marines, because that's what they have on as well. And now back then I didn't hate that design. I was more neutral. I was like, oh, that's a little bit interesting. I wonder what made them decide to do that. But now that I've expanded my sci-fi knowledge, I actually really do appreciate that detail on Sloane's shoulder pad. I think that's cool. I also think it's really intriguing how she seems to be taken, and despite being taken, she's not an enemy, she's still an ally. I want to do a better job of reading the lore, getting more invested into the lore specifically, but I am aware that one of the set pieces for the seasonal armor explains that, I believe it's the ghost piece. It explains that Sloane is indeed taken, but apparently she's having some kind of symbiotic relationship with Asha. Asha being that, I believe it's the Leviathans before they were corrupted by darkness. I might be wrong about that, but I do believe that it was stated that Leviathan, that Asha is a proto-Leviathan, or rather the proto-hive worms. So essentially, in the same way that the hive looked the way they look because the darkness corrupted them, if they were allowed to evolve naturally, they would have a different aesthetic look. I think that's what's going on right here. The Leviathan worms look the way that they do because of the darkness, but Asha is an example of their species that was not corrupted by the darkness. And Asha is a new character that's been introduced. I am quite intrigued by her. I'm curious if she was a quote-unquote long boy in the soup that Drifter would say sometimes. I'm curious if that is the same creature, just because I did see videos of the quote-unquote long boy in the soup, and just that little humpback, whatever, when it breaches the waves, it just doesn't look very similar to me. But with that being said, I do have to keep in mind that maybe Asha's design was not yet conceived, when Bungie was working on Titan, so that might be an aspect to consider, an aspect to keep in mind. So far, I'm leaning towards appreciating Asha's character or Asha's introduction to the story. I am more positive, but I am kind of leaning towards neutral as well. Just neutral, just because she's not really adding much to the story. But so far, I did think it was really awesome how Sloane utilized Egregore, excuse me, to connect with Asha and to communicate with her telepathically. I'm looking forward to discovering more about that and just just engaging with that in terms of the story. So yeah, so all in all, I do have to say, also in terms of the narration, the lore, or just the narrative, I am liking the Season of the Deep more than Season of the Defiance. In my personal opinion, again, I know that it seemed like most people were more impressed by Season of the Defiance versus Lightfall. I myself at first was a little bit let down by Lightfall. I ended up really enjoying it, really having fun with it from fairly early in the campaign. And for me, I had the opposite reaction where for me, the Season of Defiance, I was enjoying it, sure, but I just felt like the story could have gone a little bit more further in terms of the Earth's defense against the Witness and Callus and the Shadow Legion. But despite that, I also did understand that, well, it's a seasonal story being released at the same time as a major expansion, right? So that's an important aspect to keep in mind as well, right? So that's why I didn't really dig into Bungie too much with my last brief review on Destiny's 2, or rather the Season of the Defiance review. But yeah, so I am enjoying the start of the story a lot more compared to Season of Defiance. I think there's a lot of mystery that's making it intriguing for the Guardians, for the player characters, or for the players, right? The players, us. So yeah, if one is playing Destiny 2 Season of the Deep, please do let me know what's your opinions about it. Are you enjoying it so far? Also, I am aware that there's been a lot of spoilers coming out. I personally don't really look into spoilers. Sometimes I do, but not always. It really depends on the material and if I want to see it for myself or not. But please don't post spoilers in the comments. If you do want to discuss spoilers, I ask that you speak with me via private messaging, just to avoid other individuals who may not want to look at spoilers. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. I do appreciate it. So again, if you have any opinions about Season of the Deep so far, please do let me know what they are. And have a great day and take care. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Again, I do appreciate it.